health, namaste. I, Anuradha, would like to thank all of you for liking our YouTube and Spotify channels and writing in your comments and your suggestions there. Today, we are going to talk about the transit that happens nearly in the second half of April and has a strong impact on us for the next 3 to 4 months to come. In fact, the next 1.5 years are very strong for Aries. It's very strong for the Lagna of, it is for Leo, strong for Libra, and also for Pisces. We will talk about it as we go ahead. But we also need to understand that the remedials is given by the planets themselves. So what are the skies going to tell us for the coming transits for the upcoming months from April? State very clearly that as Rahu on the 14th of this month enters into the sign of Aries, it also has Jupiter coming into its own sign of Pisces. Towards the end of the month, on the 29th night in the Eastern Hemisphere and the 29th morning or the 30th morning for the Eastern Hemisphere, we'll find that Saturn also enters into its own sign of Aquarius. In fact, it's moola trikona sign where Mars would already be present in the Sadvihesh Nakshatra. Saturn would be moving into Dhanishta Nakshatra and Jupiter would have been in Uttar Bhadra at that time. Rahu moves into Kritika first pada as it is traveling from towards the deep end of beginning of Aries, and Sun has also moved into Bharani. It is a Chaturdashi on that day, so the moon is also very weak. And whenever moon is weak, we will always find that the sign of Cancer is much afflicted. Also, with moon being with Mars at during those days, and take a whole week, last week of April, to be honest, that could show a lot of agitation in the mind and consequently a change or an agitation in our hearts and our homes also. So one needs to be very careful on that account. We find Mercury, the only planet which is beyond the preview, but it is not escaping it because it is being aspected by Mars. Now let us go ahead and see how the things happen to be. Now we see that Aries has a lot of, for the Aries Lagna, there's a lot of malefic influence to begin with, because, or for that matter, when anybody has their moon in Aries, we can, I have always come across people asking me these questions: do we take the Lagna or do we take the Rasi? If you want to see how your mind is going to work, then you need to see it from the Rashi, your moon Rashi. If you want to see how you are going to work, then you need to take it from the Lagna. This is a very important thing that we must consider. Now, though Jupiter has moved into its own sign and Venus is also exalted, so two benefics sitting together, they do protect that sign very well. But it is also a matter of fact that we must remember that both Rahu and Saturn are causing a strong papkartari for the sign of Pisces. So let's begin with the Aries Lagna. For the Aries Lagna, this is a time when one would be very hard pressed. There's a lot of changes that are going to happen in life, which are going to set your mind on a frenzy, because moon would also be with the mind and with Rahu in the last week of April. Starting that point, you have to be very careful about what you think and how you show, because Mars is also with Saturn. If you start doing technical things, if you start also doing a lot of pranayam, because Rahu being on the Lagna and in a fire sign, if you do good amount of pranayam being aspected by Saturn, there's a lot that you can put your mind to stability. But if you're not doing that, if you're doing some technical work, then also it will help you, and hard work is required because your ninth house is also under stress. The ninth house is under malefic stress of Rahu, and the ninth Lord Jupiter is in Papkartari. So the power to think properly, think straight can be missing into a lot of areas, and you need to move back into that zone of thinking carefully and powerfully. And for that, Rahu remedies work. Better still doing pranayam, because both Saturn and Rahu have a strong connect and they do reflect on that attitude. Pisces, the sign of the 12th house, is under a Papkartari. So there, if you give dan, it's a good place to let go of that karma there by giving dan. And that will affect your 6th house also, giving service, because if Jupiter, Venus together aspects the 6th house, then there will be a good period where you can be doing social service to others, or if you work properly in tandem with your own with a strong conviction, with patience, then the 3-4 months till Saturn retrogrades back into the sign of Capricorn, that period, if you can just stay calm, you will see that you will have done yourself quite a good job. So we move back into this, we move further for the sign of Taurus. For the sign of Taurus, there's a strong aspect by the 12th Lord. What more, it is also aspected by Saturn with Mars together. So there is the 12th Lord aspect on it. Saturn being the yoga should make you work really hard. The 2nd and the 5th Lord, which is Mercury, is on the Lagna, and Mercury being a benefic because it is out of the shadow of Sun also, and it is not combust. This Mercury has a good chance of giving you an ability to think on your feet, strong reflexes. Though there is an affliction, but Rahu moving into the 12th house gives you certain amount of relief and could also show certain travel. However, Rahu being with your 3rd and 4th Lord, it could also give you a mental strain. If you use this mental strain into creativity, then you will have a good output. Otherwise, and you would know how to connect with people. Otherwise, that creativity, if not utilized by you, can lead to an emotional deprivation also, because the 4th house for you is also being aspected by Saturn and Mars, which can create certain amount of issues. Venus, the Lagna Lord, is with the Lord of exaltation, Jupiter, and in the 11th house. So if you think straight, if you work fast, you quick on your reflexes, this is also time when you can earn from foreign revenues, because the 3rd Lord, Moon and Rahu, both are in the 12th house. This is also a time when you can be traveling abroad, but that can there can be certain thefts that you need to be careful about. You need to show certain amount of caution there, because Rahu can also show cheating. If it's, especially if it's with Sun and Moon, it will show cheating there. We are now going to talk about the ascendant of Gemini. For the ascendant of Gemini, it is important to understand that with Mercury, the Lagna Lord, in the 12th house, and this being aspect, there's no other aspect as such on this sign, but the Lagna Lord is in the 12th house, being aspected by the 6th and the 11th Lord Mars. So there is a pressure of work that is building up for you, and probably a technical work that would require to be redone time and time again till it is perfected. If you are aspecting certain amount of income. Your income for this period could be under a little dicey situation because it is with Rahu. There can be some problems with the income coming in, or there could be an over expenditure, so to speak. So if this is a time for appraisal for many, then you're sure to find an appraisal for yourself, but there can be some clause that you may not be very happy about. So you need to take good care about them. If there are people who are looking to change jobs, then that is also a possibility, because your third lord is also in the house of 11th house with Rahu, showing that a change into a absolutely different sphere is a possibility. Saturn aspects the Mars is aspecting the Lagna Lord, and in trine with Jupiter, 10th Lord in the 10th house, under a lot of pressure, but the 10th Lord will save itself. So you might be under a pressure in your job, might be feeling little overwhelmed. Please don't, because there's also a 5th Lord there. So you might think that I would want to give up a job, take up a better one for next time that is to come. Stay put for some period of time. 2 months, 3 months requires to stay put. And if you've got that under control, you will have self-sailing. Everything that you do requires you to be extremely professional and proficient in your work. That ways, you will have learned patience also, and you will also go a long way, because Rahu in the 11th house is a good place to be. For the Gemini Lagna, it's not that bad, because Jupiter, Venus in the 10th house, 2 benefics, and the 10th Lord in the 10th house. That's a good transit to begin with. When we talk about the Cancer people, for the Cancer Lagna, yes, this is a hard time, and there's certain aspects of things that you really want to change. For example, your work, because this, and there can be a different money coming in from a different source that can, to begin with, be a source of worry for you. But my only contention is, please don't be so worried. You will find that you can be under a lot of stress from others, people who kind of do not like you or are your competitors, can try to sling mud, but you're capable enough with the 2nd Lord of ethics being in the 10th house, being Digbali at this time with Rahu. You will need to find out a different way, have a different thought process to beat others at their own game. Don't let it overpower you, overwhelm you, because Saturn there as the 8th Lord can cause a little bit of depression. Stay away from anything that is a depressant and you will go fine. With the 9th Lord sitting with the 4th Lord, Mother can be a strong sense of inspiration, and she will also make you see advice, because the 9th house is also the advice that you get from elders. As a remedial measure, mother and father, both, if you can revert to them or to your Ishta Devata, your Guru, at that time, chanting their names would take you a long way. We move on to Leo. For the Leo Lagna, again, your Lagnesh is with Rahu in the 9th house, a good place to be, because it also shows a trine. However, there is a blemish that we cannot ignore, because Rahu, Moon and Sun are together. So it's eclipse is being caused. That's a definite yes that we see. And the 8th house is also being tenanted by Jupiter and Venus. In the Uttar Kalamrit, it's a good position for Venus to be in. So any Devi sadhana that you want to do, or any Devi part, because Jupiter talks about the kind of prayer we are doing for the Devi. So any Devi prayer that one needs to do should be done during this period. It will help you in the long way. The Yoga Karaka is sitting with Saturn in the 7th house, both being malefics, but being good for the chart. They definitely will put you through a rigmarole, because Saturn is also the 6th Lord. So there are a lot of obstacles coming in your way in your work. There could also be problems with the spouse, because there's 2 malefics malefics sitting in the 7th house. So you have to be very careful on that ground also. And you have to understand that if you work really hard, dedicatedly, without much expectation, over a period of time, paradoxically, this combination will give you a lot of good results. But it will not happen all of a sudden, and it will happen gradually over a period of time. Because Rahu has entered the Kritika Nakshatra, it is important not to lose hope, not to give up easily, but to be on the path of your strategy and don't allow others to overwhelm you. Mercury, the planet of value, is in the 10th house, second lord in the 10th house. You're smart enough to be able to find ways in your profession and get quick results. We are talking now about Virgo. Virgo is the sign where we find that the lord of the Lagna is in the 9th house. It's also the 10th lord. Technically, Mercury is a benefic transit. And when the benefic moves in the 9th house, your thought process is good. You know what to think quickly, take a good decision. However, there can be perpetual fear within you because in the 8th house, there are 3 planets. Not to worry during the month of April and May at the very least, because during these 2 months, Sun, which is the lord of the 12th house, comes in the 8th house, which is a Vipreet Raj Yoga happening for you. Yes, Rahu and Moon in the 8th house can be a difficult combination because it gives you the worry of things that you're not even able to see. But there's a constant feeling in the gut that there might be something. So with that, Venus and Jupiter being in their own house, in the 6th house, Saturn, Mars, which calls for diligently doing your duty. And Saturn also calls for doing some sort of physical seva or help to others who are much below your status. So if you are able to do that, in that case, you will have satisfied a lot of Saturn's traits, and you would have also done yourself some good activities. Mars, it aspects your Lagna. So you might constantly feel a rage building up within you due to that feeling of some untoward thing happening. But Jupiter and Venus, and an exalted 9th lord at that, Venus for that matter, aspecting the Lagna, has given you the ability to think quietly and calmly before taking any decisions. Halfway through, we move over to Libra. For the Libra Lagna, it's on the Rahu Ketu axis, and the Lord is exalted but 6 houses away. So it's not much protection that we find from planets. On the contrary, we find that the 9th and the 10th lord, the 10th and the 11th lord are afflicted with Rahu. The 11th lord is with Rahu in the 7th house. So there can be certain amount of struggles that you may need to face on account of your on account of blemish from others. On a public level, people may take up scrutinizing your activities very seriously. So for that matter, you need to be very straight. With Jupiter being in the 6th house, along with Venus, the Devi Aradhana here is always recommended for Rahu. So if you do a Devi Aradhana and you also know how to reply to people politely, calmly, and with a lot of intelligence, you will have met your protocol. You would have done the best you can, and people will then not go ahead disturbing you. There's a Pap Kartari on your 6th house. So there is a limiting factor to your enemical activities, and the enemies will, after a certain point, have to concede defeat or push back as Saturn retrogrades back, and Mars, the 7th lord, moves towards its own house to make sure that it has a combative effect on the open enemies. That would happen somewhere in June, and at that time you will see June, July, and at that time you will see that you would be in a furious mode. Okay, so we move on to Scorpio. When we're talking about Scorpio, for the Scorpio Lagna people, again, Mars, which is the ruler, is in the 4th house along with the 4th lord. And what more, Mars is this house, the ascendant, is also being aspected by Jupiter. And so it is safe. However, as Jupiter itself is under a little bit of pressure, the kind of protection that this Jupiter can afford may not be the same, but nevertheless, as much as possible, this Jupiter would try to save the person concerned. Apart from that fact, for the Scorpio Lagna people, it is very important, imperative, so to speak, to give a lot of importance to your health. If you can maintain that health, if you can turn a lot of things, and even for your work, because your sixth lord, 10th lord and the ninth lord are in the sixth house. That means if you can think straight, if you can think out of box, moon in the sixth house is good, but it is shadowed by Rahu and sun. It's the time of the eclipse. So if you keep your mind aside, if you think from within and do take a call on what is right and what is wrong, because Rahu in Kritika may allow you to concede defeat when it is not required, or you may take up unnecessary arms just because that sun is strong there. Don't do either of it. Be have the power of discretion. The sixth house gives us the power of discretion, and use it in your work well. Whatever work that you're doing, the karma is the 10th house. So if you use it well, you will be able to reap good rewards. Fifth lord in fifth house, under Pap Kartari, children may feel little winded, children may feel a little under the weather, but they will be a great sense of support, and you will also be able to support them, because no matter what, it's the two benefits sitting together in a very powerful position. For the Sagittarius Lagna, we see that the third lord with the fifth lord in the third house, and both malefics give us an indication that things need time, they need perseverance and persistence. Saturn talks about persistence. You may be lacking in patience and you want to get results as of yesterday. Don't do that, because Mars-Saturn combination urges you to do technical stuff. It may also urge you to take rash decisions. However, rash decisions taken today will make you fetch those rewards just around the corner when Mars reaches the house of its own, that is the fifth house, and aspects the 12th house. It will cause losses for you. Keeping that in mind, one needs to pay a lot of attention, and one needs to be very patient there. Think, strategize. Mars in third house also gives you an ability to strategize. So strategize, show patience, work hard, and then you will find that you could be making some name for yourself also. Mars is aspecting your sixth house, and as it aspects your sixth house, it also helps Saturn to throw its own shadow in the sixth house. That means it is a time of hard work, and it is also a time where you need to face your enemies and your battles from the front. As I said, don't take harsh steps, take calculated and decisive steps in that matter. Fourth house is the house which is quite good for you at the moment, because the Lagna Lord and an exalted planet, sixth Lord and the 11th Lord sitting here, they may be under stress, but they're in a good place. They are powerfully placed. Fourth Lord in the fourth house, a Kendra Lord in the Kendra. Definitely, home is one place where you can relax, should relax. And if there's a lot of things buzzing around that area, you have the ability to deal with them. With that fact in mind, go ahead and take the concrete steps. There's a time when this could also be a time when your travel plans may go haywire. Not a problem. Spend some time at home, because an exalted Venus gives you the luxury to be happy and to feel happy at home. With the seventh Lord in the sixth house, there could be certain amount of problems with partners, and or there can be certain disagreements with the partners on very strong grounds, because Mars is also aspecting that Mercury. So be aware of it. It's better to, as I said, it's better to think things over before making any commitment, or for that matter, moving in a different or a wrong direction. We are talking about the Capricorn Lagna now. As I move into the area of Capricorn Lagna, again, the third lord and the Yoga Karaka together, the fifth lord together in the fifth house, and exalted at that. And the fifth house is also aspected by a benefic. Your Lagna lord is in the second house with the fourth lord. And so on the whole, I'd like to say that it's a good position for your travel, for your creativity, for your name and fame, and for those children who are writing competitive exams. It's a good place to be for the Capricorn Lagna. The Capricorn Lagna is also showing a certain amount of income coming in by strategic thought process, because the second lord is in the second house with the 11th lord, but it requires a lot of effort. Wherever Mars sits, it makes sure that a person is putting in energy. You could be putting in your energy for your family, for your exams, for your studies, for your money, any one of these things, and Saturn. So there is a call for patience, but once you've done that, you get enough confidence. Two benefics in the third house gives you huge amount of ideas and confidence to carry your work further. As the fourth house has malefics, eighth lord Rahu, and eighth lord exalted at that matter. So there could be certain changes that you might be facing on the home front, or you could be cutting off from your maternal relation. So that is an area of concern that you need to address before it goes out of hand. This is with the sixth lord in the fifth house. Any competitive exam that you're aiming for should do you good. Let's talk about the Aquarius Lagna. For the Aquarius Lagna, there is the Lagnesh and the 10th lord sitting right there on the Lagna and telling you that it is the hard work and only hard work that will make you work. You're putting in a lot of energy in your work, in your business, and that should pay, because Jupiter, the lord of the second house, moves into the second. But it's also time with the Yoga Karaka. It's also a time for you to take good care of the ethical values, because they could be under a little bit of strain, because Jupiter and Venus are in the Papkartari Yoga and the third house is in an eclipse. So just sit back, realize, don't start anything new in the month of April or May, and enjoy the time as it comes for you. Give yourself a break of 10 days, because Saturn Mars in the Lagna aspecting the 10th house can create a break for you in the 10th house, and at the same time make you work hard. With Rahu being on the aspecting your 9th house, there could be certain travels to exotic locales where you can also find some hidden temples. So those journey that you want to do should also be done during these months. If you want to take a break and go on a journey, it's a good place to be. Finally, we move on to the Pisces Lagna. For the Pisces Lagna, this is a good place. Under threat, under a lot of pressure, because in the 12th house, we have the 2nd and the 9th lord, and the 12th and the 9th lord, and in the 2nd house, we have the Rahu, 6th lord, sun, and 5th lord, moon. So it's under a lot of sage, so to speak, because it's in a Papkartari. But we are forgetting that it is also the 10th lord in the Lagna, and we are also forgetting that Jupiter in its own house and Venus in exaltation. So when we have this kind of problems facing, we would be needing a lot of courage, because Jupiter aspects the 9th house and the 5th house. It gives us the power of thinking straight, discrimination, and also being able to take a call. But I also have to say that since moon, the 5th lord, is eclipse, so we may not be learning from our mistakes. We need to put in some effort to learn from our mistakes and not go blindly by the dictums that others give us, or the dictums put forward to us by our friends, or for that matter, our contacts. We need to think things through. It's a matter of time, matter of 3-4 months, when Rahu would have moved into Bharani, would have come to a stable position, and Saturn would have retrograde. So this Paap Kartari, which would be so strong, would not then have that much of an effect. And Jupiter Rahu combination is a good combination according to me, because it gives expansive ideas. It also brings in luck and money. So we'll stop at that when we come, but we should be very well aware that Venus Jupiter combination is good for this lagna, because it also talks about adhyatma. So people who want to go into some kind of a meditation camp, or people who want to travel there, can also do it, because that's a good time. Again, your 7th lord is in the 3rd house. You are getting a lot of ideas. You want to expand on that. Perfectly fine, but wait for Saturn to go back into 11th house, the 11th lord into the 11th house, so that it does not make you spend too much, and it gives you a patience when it would be expecting your lagna in transit. So on the whole, we find that the lagnas of Aries, Libra, Gemini, Cancer, and Sagittarius, as well as Leo, which are affected. Most affected, Cancer, Northern Cancer, Gemini, Aries, and then we find that the Libra lagna is also affected. But as I said earlier on, if we do practice pranayam, if we learn to give a little bit of selfless service to others, we'll profit a lot more. Till we meet with you again, stay tuned. Please hit the bell icon for fresh updates. Don't forget to like, share, and comment on the videos, and please subscribe to our channel.